My name, it don't matter, I'm not young anymore. But in all of my days, I'd never been poor. I'd lived the right good life and not felt no shame, till they made me take part in the government game.
Hello? Okay, fine. Would you send her in, please?
For many people, there's only one Newfoundland. Well, we know differently. For Pat and Joe Byrne, there's at least two Newfoundlands. Their problem is they're trying to live in both of them.
Well, I'm coming in at university this September, and I want to get my courses straightened up because I'm kind of confused as to what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's kind of narrow it down a little bit. Are you interested, say, basically in a science course or in an arts course?
Well, I'm not really sure. Like, basically, I think I'd like to get in with social work or involved with social work if I could.
Pat Byrne works at Memorial University, but always while he's sitting in his office, the thing that he remembers is paradise.
The only time that they really communicate is when they...
Joe Byrne, his brother, teaches. And while he's teaching, the thing that he remembers is paradise.
On either side of him, and I can still, and the boys can too, I still remember my Uncle Dan, and he, what they call rising on her, and he gaffing the fella's hands on either side of him and going to her.
The fondest wish I ever had since the day that I was weaned is to go back to walk again on the rocks of Merasheen. From out of Rosaroo we sail to hunt the big fish down. We sail upon...
Resettlement. It's the name of a program the Newfoundland government had where they moved thousands of people from their hometowns to growth centers. Resettlement, for Pat and Joe Byrne, meant the loss of the place where they grew up, paradise.
The reasons why we return to paradise, I suppose, are getting less and less easy to define. But the reasons we go back is some kind of an attempt, I think, to stay in contact with some kind of roots, some kind of bases where we came from.
How's it going, Joe? Not too bad. I suppose we'd open up them eggs that you've been talking about, will you? Open up the eggs? All right, guaranteed. Now, boy, come on. What kind of egg? That's them brown chickens, lays them on eggs. There, choke there, boy. God, look, start laying. Look. Come on, boys. Jesus, I don't say. Oh, there he is. There, sure, there. Oh, nothing to it, he said. My son, when you know what you're doing. I think they're soft boiled.
That one was rotten, I think.
I think they're soft boiled, Leonard. These are red and opener, you know. Oh, the Lord save us.
Fender off! Fender off! Fender off!
Fender off!
On our way down to paradise, we stop at Southeast Bight.
Hello, Teresa, me ducky, how are you? Who's the skipper on this one, anyway? Where's the dog it wasn't much involved? On the rocky road to Dublin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hot to hear and thunder down the rocky road and all the way to Dublin, went from Dollyrah.
Last thing I used this for was putting on
Creosote.
Poisonous creosote. It should make those steaks really cool.
The only reason I'm not in an outport right now, really,
is because I can't take the university with me. I can't take what I do with me. And so I live in the city, not through any coercement or anything, but simply because, well, you know, that's where I earn my living. If I could take my living out of the city, I would. I think the idea or the concept of one's roots, really, I suppose, stay with one all the time. Paradise, southeast by Placentia Bay, the whole concept of Outport, Newfoundland stays with me because I still see that as being pretty much what Newfoundland historically has been all about.
Rest of them done? That one done, Joe?
Yes, boy, come on, give it to her.
Pius Power of Southeast Bight is at least one person who refused to resettle.
Huh? Yeah, boy.
That's pretty good. Isn't that fierce?
Very good, boy.
Not a fish in the lot, look. One counter. Boys, they don't count them by tubs anymore now, they count them singly.
Count them singly, that's the only way to count them. Yeah, but.
Come on, Bruno. Come on, buddy.
Oh, boy, take up. Now, don't be afraid. Get up the nerve.
I say the fag.
If you come back changed, you're denying one of the cliche phrases of, well, particular Placentia Bay. You can take the man out of the bay, but you can't take the bay out of the man.
Don't mean the music. That was fine. Sorry, but. To the one, I called it him, he called me 10 times.
Yeah. Where'd you live before, Pius? Down in... down at Cladis Harbour, yeah.
Yep.
All the people moved out of there, didn't they?
Yep. You had a song about centralisation, haven't you?
Yeah.
Come all you young fellows and list while I tell of the terrible misfortune that upon me befell. Centralization, they say, was the name, but me, I just calls it the government game.
We stop at Placentia because there's a lot of people who are resettled from Paradise, Southeast Bight, relatives of ours who are now living in Placentia. So basically, Placentia was one of the growth centers where a lot of the people who were resettled eventually ended up.
To a place called Placentia, well, some of us went, and in finding a new home, our allowances spent. So for jobs we went looking, but we looked all in vain, for the roof had caved in on the government gate.
You can give it that to me right there, Walter.
Great. Right, Joe, while it's going good.
Oh, boy, son, petty boy.
We're going to have it there now.
Oh, boy, it's clear away
There we are.
on the splitting table here so we can put her down.
I moved water.
I'll tell you one thing, Joe, I wouldn't like to be one of them fellas waiting for what's going to be left.
No. Coming back in the summers started to really reawaken in me some kind of a feeling of what Newfoundland, the people, was all about.
Now, Pat, I'll give that one to you. What? Well, I want to be served the skipper first. Yeah. There we go, skipper. All right. I know Flora can't serve it up now. We're going to have it.
It reawakened in me some awareness of the roots that I had come from and the fact that there was something very worthwhile in those roots that was, again, worth saving.
My sonny's boy. Look, I got a spoon. Garden fresh is what they are, sure? How big is Mom want to do it? What possessed you to leave in the first place, for?
Well, no school for the children, you know, and they were getting up where they wanted to go in higher grades, and, you know, lower grades was no teacher to teach them, and that, you know.
Yeah.
And no priest, no mass or anything like that. So the families were getting scarce. I just didn't like to stay back.
Yeah.
Wanted to be moving too.
It must have been hard though, Flora, because I was too young. to appreciate it. But it must be pretty hard when the time comes to actually move out.
Well, I thought I'd never do it. You know, I felt so bad. I didn't think I'd get used to in here at all.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. And the youngsters were the same. They didn't, you know. Winnie was the worst because she didn't like it in here at all. She used to bawl half the day.
Yeah.
Well, the first time I saw Dr. she was We are not performers in any sense of, you know, performing for some kind of an audience or attempting to get something monetary value or monetary reimbursement from the songs that we're doing. We're singing the songs simply because we're trying to reach some kind of a specific audience who are going to enjoy these things.
How's yourself? Leo Flower? How's you going, Leo?
And the other man I don't know.
How you doing, Kevin? Don't know this man either.
Mr. Heffer.
Oh, how are you? How's yourself?
Mrs. Heffernan?
Hello, how are you?
They feel very comfortable to get up and sing old songs. We enjoy them, and they know we are enjoying them.
Same 7 years I've loved a maiden, and 7 more I've been to see. But 7 more I'll wait no longer, for I now returns to marry thee. Amen.
Bye-bye. Out of here. Don't stop now. Give her on. Give her on,
There we are.
Sure, the government paid us for moving away and leaving our birthplace for a better day's pay. They said that our poor lives would ne'er be the same once we took part in the government game.
And just in over those rocks where you can't see it now, there's a little valley, and that's where Joe and I were born. And up on that hill where all those rocks are, we had gardens up there. You know, we used to have to carry up. We used to plant vegetables like potatoes and all that kind of stuff. It's nice to come back, but it's also like visiting your own grave, and that's kind of a weird feeling, you know. There's the schoolhouse where I went for 6 months. And it's all the school I had until I was 11 years old. Look at Jim Pomeroy's house. Look, that's what's left today. There's not much left of anything anymore. No, sir. She's had the business. Hello, Byrne. How are you? How are you doing? Not much, boy. Yeah. Not much left to visit now, Vi.
You just can't legislate and governmentally control the lives of people to that extent. If they want to stay and live a kind of subsistence existence, and if they're content to accept the kind of life that they've known and also accept the hardship that goes with it, the kind of hardship that says if I chop my foot with an axe, I might bleed to death. It's living on a kind of, you know, on the brink all the time. You got very, very good times and very, very bad times, and you kind of accept both. These people are so used to living that kind of a life that depends on the struggle. If you take the struggle away, you screw their whole life.
Break your heart when you're coming in through to see it.
She's pretty deserted, that's for sure.
Yeah. See where you're born, Rita.
Yeah.
And worked so hard.
Yes, there's an awful lot of yourself left in a place
Yeah,
like
that's
this.
right,
You leave a lot of yourself behind. Yes,
You think about all the work you put in on houses and gardens.
Yeah. Well, look at, I mean, how much work went into building these stages and stuff like that. The fellas put in an awful lot of work, and they're all falling down now.
Yes, sir.
You know?
We didn't have to leave this place for a living, you know. We always been our living here,
Yes,
didn't we,
we sure
Paddy?
did. Yeah. Everybody
But
who's
just
here
saying,
managed.
people one after the other left, and then you had to leave, see.
Now we're going to go dart up around, have a look around the harbour, boys. Few fish, Joe, boy. Somebody must be getting a few fish.
I think paradise, for all practical purposes, is dead. There is nothing right now to go back to. There is no going back. Nothing remains.
Well, that used to be pretty solid.
She won't be long before she's falling down, though, I guarantee you. It still is. Look, Pat.
Yeah.
The
attic was finished and
the
everything.
planks and everything in the
Fantastic.
you know. Look,
Holy Lord save us.
you know, there's lovely wood in that still. Look.
Yeah. If you were here now and everything was quiet, you could hear voices, I'm sure.
If they could talk, they'd say a lot more than wanted to be heard, I expect.
Yes, true enough. True enough. Well, I suppose we walk up to the church, man. We were both born here, weren't we? You were born here?
Yes, I was born here, and then we moved to Mardycut.
Right, out that island out there.
We moved out there.
This was my grandmother's place here.
Yeah.
There were great big rocks down there.
And that rock was about 49,000 foot tall.
Yeah,
remember?
they've shrunk since then. We used to get up there and get in and play motorboat and cowboys and Indians.
This was the kitchen right here.
Yeah. There was this fantastic big long pantry and hallway used to come
Yeah, I
into.
used to go around the length of it because I can remember Nanny standing out screaming at us for driving nails into the rails.
Yeah. Oh, man. Guess old Jack never figured he'd be in the movies after he was dead, did he?
No,
Huh?
I guarantee you.
They spell his name wrong too. Should
Yes,
be
it's only one L.
should be M-U-L-R-O-O instead of M. God, he's pretty knobbly there now.
He always was pretty knobbly.
Yes, that's for sure.
Old Jack.
But my second father, that was.
Well, it was the second part of the two of us, actually.
Yeah, he wasn't even related to either one of us.
No.
He's a cool old cat. First pair of Logans I ever got, Jack bonded me.
Gumboots, like
Gumboots, yeah.
Well, he doesn't give a damn about it now, I suppose.
No, he doesn't care about it now.
No. He had his chew tobacco, that's all he wanted.
Somewhere along the way in grade 10, I suppose, or maybe even earlier, I had this idea that I was going to go off and, you know, dedicate my life to Christ and save the world and do all kinds of things like that. And so at the end of grade 11, I kind of packed up and took off and joined this order, the Irish Christian Brothers.
He probably was, but
The only thing that kept me a good Christian my whole life, that's the Statue of the Sacred Heart. 'Cause every time I'd walk in the church door, I just figured he'd burn holes in me with his eyes.
To a Catholic, I lost my faith. To me, I lost my illusions.
15, 20, 25 fellas standing out here having their before church smoke.
Yeah. Or two, as the case might be.
Or two, as the case might be, yes.
You come up here now and sit down at night, you could hear the old accordion, boy, the old dance hall in there inside the church.
Yes, the time.
The
Time.
So in effect, I was mentally out of the church before I actually went physically out of the order.
And I used to watch that thing, and I'd come in, and every way I'd move, it looked like his eyes were looking at me. That's something else. That's a beautiful face. If one had, a good imagination, you would say they're tears, those stains. I can remember the old people, especially the old women. There was one of these jobs, these candle things here, and they would come up and light a candle, and kneel down and bless themselves and touch the feet. Look at the next to that. Eh? Just look at the old Stations of the Cross. Look. Remember those? They were all up around the walls. Look at that.
Bit to pieces.
Look at that, man. That's something else. That's really heavy. Have beautiful frames, man.
Tied up with sunlight, Dad, look.
Yeah? Huh? Same kind of stuff you use for jigging fish. There's something in there, man.
Yes.
They tell me our young ones the benefits will see. Oh, but I don't believe it. Oh, how can it be? They'll never know nothing but sorrow and shame, for their parents were part of the government game. Now when my soul leaves me for the heavens above, take me back to great paradise, the place that I love, and there on my tombstone, right next to my name, just say I died playing the government game. Just say I died playing the government game.